Hello and welcome to the Listening Post's unboxing channel on YouTube. Today I'm unboxing one of the best examples of the pinnacle of engineering associated with any turntable on the planet. The brand new Pro-Ject X8 Evolution turntable. Pro-Ject have been doing turntables for 50 years, something like that. This features an upgraded, the whole thing has been beautifully rethought. So to focus on a single upgrade is kind of pointless. They're now utilising engineering and bearing manufacturers, all these types of things, like manufacturing absolutely unheard of not that long ago, at any price, let alone here, with something relatively affordable. The damn thing's got a 5 kilo aluminium platter, and to offset its weight they're using magnets, opposing magnets along the ceramic bearing. It's stunning. The engineering is absolutely flawless in this product. So without further ado, let's have a look. The box, as you can see, is massive compared with most of the Pro-Ject turntables that you would have seen me unboxing historically. We see model and serial number information on the two ends, and then the Pro-Ject logo on the side. Opening these is very, very straight. Oh, the top, boring, it's just freight tickets. Okay, there's nothing of consequences on board. Opening these is very straightforward. Like all Pro-Ject products, they are taped closed with sort of a paper tape. And with anybody who wants to be a little bit careful, of course, you should always lift the top and carefully cut. It reveals a little bit more care and attention that goes with Pro-Ject's higher end turntables, and the fact that it's actually double boxed. So the outer box becomes just a freight carton, just something that takes the scuffs and the courier labels, all of those messy little things associated with getting the product to you. So carefully rolling it over and discarding that massive box leaves you with an inner box that's worthy of attention. So at this point, of course, it's beautiful. It's pristine, there's not a mark on it. Again, an emulation of the model and serial number information. This particular model's in high gloss black. It's of course the X8 DC motor, that kind of stuff. It's 18 kilos, don't forget that. This thing is heavy. Nevertheless, again, model information on the other side as well. Next layer is opened as usual, exactly as before, with some careful slicing associated with the paper tape that has sealed it closed. Folding that cardboard over, we see some modest protection for those that might be over-eager with a craft knife in the form of a piece of cardboard. Okay. And then we get to see some of the initial accessories associated with the product. In a clear plastic bag, we see an Allen key for the counterweights and other features. And actually that Allen key is for the vertical tracking angle. We see a large round belt. The X8 has an external motor positioned and brilliantly isolated within the same plinth, and the belt actually goes around the entire circumference of the platter. So it's this sort of round belt. Set that off to one side. In the accessories we see the 45 adapter and an Allen key associated with tightening the counterweight. And we see the anti-skate weight. It adds a tiny little bit of tug to the arm. And then we see a set of cotton gloves to remove fingerprints and things like that. Tilting it forward, we see a few other things hidden away. Down to one side, we see Pro-Ject's X8 manual. This is a quick connect guide and associated information with its basic rudimentary setup, and adding, basically assembly and things along those lines. We see at the front here the interconnecting cables, and these are fixed in place, so I'll leave that for now. Okay, so held in closed cell foam we see the turntable's lid. Now the closed cell foam have brilliantly done its job, and we see that the lid, by the way, it's an oversized lid as you would expect. This Evolution turntable is a hugely long arm. It's something like 9-inch tone arm, carbon fibre. So the lid itself is going to be quite large, as you will see. It's protected in one of Pro-Ject's semi-soft cloth bags. Next layer, we get to see the deck itself. And again, it's brilliantly isolated within a significant amount of closed cell foam. Just carefully put that off to one side, and we drill into that next layer. Specifically cut to support the turntable, its feet and other things like that. We see the bottom layer, which features the significant platter and the accessories associated with the counterweight and power supply. The power supply is 15 volt DC. That's become sort of the signature for the range. It allows for multi-voltage, and we've got New Zealand and other universal sort of clip types in it as well. There's the counterweight. Now the counterweight is isolated with, what do they call it? TPE, basically sorbitane. So the concept behind it is that any microscopic vibration that could be in the arm itself can't possibly end up with some transient associated with the heavy counterweight. The end result is, of course, they've put this sort of rubber in the back to ensure that it's isolated and vibration free, reducing, if not eliminating, any potential of these transients. Lastly is the hugely heavy platter, and this is what you actually have to be extremely careful with. So very carefully, I'm just going to put that off to one side for a moment while I show you the last of the accessories and packaging. Just, you know, it's empty, and off that goes. Now the reason I've put the platter off to one side and so carefully is because, let's be honest, we all want to see the deck first. We see firstly the care and attention to detail that they have added as far as the gloss finish. The turntables are protected in transit to ensure that there is no issue with any vibration potentially damaging the gloss finish. Take your time taking the bag off. There's some feet and other things to contend with. By the way, the feet, they're again isolated with the TPE foam. So again, just taking my time, very carefully lifting the bag off and under the feet. Firstly, you get an understanding as you touch it for the first time just how brilliantly made and heavy the product actually is. Again, just bringing it carefully around all of the 4 feet over the motor location and the hinges for the lid, and then feed through the connected cable. Now, I guess we pause there because as part of this unboxing we want to have a look at this product, so we'll remove one of their red protective twist ties, get rid of that, remove the bag, and there's a bit of closed cell foam sort of paper in there, and we see the traditional connected leads. These are very, very clearly labelled as both red and white for left and right, and it's worth noting that these are quite stiff. It's an upgrade significantly on the traditional interconnecting cables that come with some of the lesser models, and they've ensured that the signal is utterly perfect. They're fixed in place as I alluded to. So, very carefully and just tilting it forward briefly to explain the external motor that I mentioned. It's got an elaborate speed box on board. No expense has been spared as far as managing and governing the control of the speed of this platter. Pushing and holding this button brings the unit to life. Oh, there'll be a switch. There we go. There's a switch, by the way, for on and off at the base there. Hang around for the photographs. I'll tilt it back and take some close-ups. Nevertheless, once on, pushing and holding brings the unit out and starts the motor turning. And then you can adjust between 33 and 45 with a tap of the button. You will see when you power it up that it flickers until it gets a stable light associated with managing and monitoring the stability of the motor itself. And that's that speed box I've alluded to. Historically it was an external box. Now that management and governance of the control is now on board. We see a brilliantly recessed central spindle. Again, as I alluded to, it's ceramic. And there's magnets around it to work in opposition with the platter to give, I guess, reduce the overall weight burden on the central spindle and bearing. It's protected by a little black cover, looks like a bit of heat shrink really, and that protects in transit and leaves the spindle with the light lubrication associated already in place and the ceramic sort of dome that you see on it. Again, hang around for all the close-ups, you'll see all of this. The arm itself is oversized, and we've seen similar arms with some of the high-end turntables that Pro-Ject have produced. It's all one piece carbon fibre, and if I fit the counterweight for a moment, it starts to look very much like you would expect to see it. It's okay. So, a turntable arm has to move left to right to track across the record. It also has to move slightly up and down associated with some of the curves, but most importantly be raised and lowered associated with its operation of being able to take it off the record and put it back into a standby position while you change the side or change the record you're listening to. Those two movements are through brilliant engineering by Pro-Ject with tiny little pinpoint contact on the arm. It has the lightest of contact that you can possibly have to still hold it in place. So you have the lightest little contact of the left to right, and again opposing lightest little contact for its up and down movement. It's just enough, and that's the critical element. The delicacy of this tracking across a record has been recognised for years, and Pro-Ject have engineered the outcome brilliantly with this product. We've opted for one without a pre-fitted cartridge, and that gives a huge flexibility as far as any number of mid to high-end cartridges that you would put with a turntable of this quality. Pausing for a moment, we see the raise and lower that you would expect. It's oil dampened, so it'll very slowly lower itself down on the record. As I mentioned, the feet, so I'm actually going to very carefully roll this over so we can have a look. This has three Sorbothane isolated steel feet. These are adjustable for the purposes of being able to level the turntable. They've got a brilliant little soft pad, and again microscopic vibrations either from the surface that it's on or from the unit itself is eliminated with the feet in their isolation. Now the feet, by the way, are very heavy along with the main plinth to ensure that the centre of gravity is lowered and that overall the noise floor is reduced by eliminating any vibration that could persist. We see at the back obviously the connection point for the power. As I turn it round, you'll see the rear hinges, the connected cable that I mentioned, and the power input from the plug pack. Again, the external motor. Now, it's at this point that we're going to fit that platter. And again, it's important that you're very, very careful. The platter itself is ginormously heavy. It is in itself more than 5 kilos. It's manufactured from one piece of aluminium and milled to absolute perfection. The tolerances are second to none in the manufacturing of this platter, and again hugely heavy. It creates brilliant inertia as far as being able to, once up to speed, maintain that speed at 33 or 45. You'll see that it's covered, the internal is covered, so this is like a reverse, it's an upside down. You know, you would normally associate this with some sort of through. Well, what we've got is this sitting in here, ceramically coated, and then again here. Now that's the other side of the magnet, by the way. You'll also see a hugely elaborate dampening ring any microscopic vibration that may be still there from the platter itself is eliminated completely with the vibration dampening ring. Positioning this extremely carefully and taking your time, we can then lower that on the central bearing. Now before lowering, you just very carefully ensure that it is centralized, and then lower it carefully with your fingertips. And at this point you can see just how brilliantly it is engineered. You can see with just the lightest of tug, it sets it turning and continues to turn for a prolonged period of time. In fact, I'm going to have to stop this, highlighting just the inertia that they've created with such a beautiful bearing, the ceramic dome that it has, and then the magnets and heavy weight. You can see, in fact, just bumping it just sets it going. That sort of effortlessness is so important to the operation. The belt, as I said, is very, very straightforward to fit. In fact, because it has a speed box, the single pulley is utilised, and it's a straightforward enough process to just manage the installation of the belt by giving it a little bit of pressure and then bringing it around the platter very carefully, and away we go. And you can see that now couples it brilliantly with the motor itself. Now it's an up-spec motor. There's all sorts of things that this product has on board. Nevertheless, there we have Pro-Ject's brilliant brand new X8 Evolution turntable, proudly unboxed and shared with you today here at the Listening Post in Christchurch, New Zealand. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, subscribe to our channel.